one of Christian television's most watched preachers, just went completely silent on Daystar. No announcement, no farewell. Joseph Prince, the network's second highest revenue generator, has vanished from their programming lineup. And what he's not saying might be louder than any statement he could make. But before we dive into why this matters, you need to understand what's really happening behind the scenes at Daystar. Because this isn't just about one minister leaving a network. In this video, we're unpacking the systematic collapse of Daystar Television Network. And I need to be clear from the start. This isn't gossip. This is about transparency, biblical integrity, and asking the hard questions when leaders go silent. So hit that subscribe button, because we're going deep into a story that's been months in the making. And still, most Christians have no idea it's happening. Let's start with who Joseph Prince actually is, because his exit isn't just another name on a list. Joseph Prince isn't your average televangelist. He's the senior pastor of New Creation Church in Singapore, one of the largest churches in all of Asia with over 30,000 attendees. His program, Destined to Reign, broadcasts in over 200 countries. We're talking about a global ministry with millions of viewers. And here's what makes his Daystar relationship so significant. Joseph Prince was reportedly the second largest contributor to the network. Only Joel Osteen comes in first. Think about that for a second. This wasn't some small-time minister with a Sunday morning slot. This was a major partnership, a relationship built over years, a financial lifeline for Daystar's operations. His teachings on grace, what some critics call hyper-grace, resonated with audiences worldwide. Love him or disagree with his theology, his influence is undeniable. So when someone at this level quietly removes themselves from a network, you have to ask, what did he see? What does he know? We'll come back to that question. But first, you need to understand the scandal that's tearing Daystar apart from the inside. In 2023, Daystar founder Marcus Lamb passed away from COVID-19 complications. His wife, Joni Lamb, took over leadership of the network. Then in November 2024, everything changed. Jonathan Lamb, Marcus and Joni's son, and his wife, Susie, filed a lawsuit with devastating allegations. They claimed that their daughter had been SA'd by a male relative. But here's where it gets dark. They alleged that Joni Lamb and Daystar leadership tried to cover it up. According to the lawsuit, instead of protecting the victim and pursuing justice, the network allegedly prioritized reputation management. Silence over truth, image over integrity. Joni Lamb denied the allegations publicly, but the damage was done. The lawsuit exposed fractures that had been hidden for years, questions about leadership, accountability, and whether Daystar still stood on the biblical foundation it claimed to represent. Now, imagine you're a minister who's built your entire platform on preaching God's grace and truth. You've invested years in this network. Your face is synonymous with their brand. And then you read those allegations. What do? For Joseph Prince, even if this came in later than expected, the answer became clear. You disappear from their schedule without saying a word. Joseph Prince isn't alone. When I started researching this story, I discovered something absolutely staggering. 30. High-profile broadcasters have now exited Daystar. This isn't a few disgruntled ministers. This is a systematic collapse. Let me walk you through some of the most significant departures, and I want you to notice the pattern. The bold ones who spoke up, Joyce Meyer, left in January 2025, directly citing concerns about the allegations. Baruch Korman, Love Israel Ministry, cut ties in December 2024, publicly stating the network couldn't embrace God's standards and cited concerns about biblical perspectives on marriage. Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson announced in November 2024 she was leaving due to ethical deficits of senior executives. The high-profile silent exits. Jack Graham did not renew his contract for 2025. Jack Hibbs exited quietly. Greg Laurie removed from programming. Jesse Duplantis chose not to return. Hank and Brenda Kuhneman left recently, and then there's the recent wave, Cedric Pesena. Live with Passion no longer airs on Daystar. Carrie Shook, Woodlands church pastor, departed without explanation. Dwayne Vanderklok, Walking by Faith, removed from schedule. Derek Greer, Live Big with Dr. Derek Greer, gone from the lineup. Ralph Douglas West, the Church Without Walls founder, recently exited. Barry Siegel. Roots and Reflections disappeared from programming. That's just a partial list. When I tallied them all up, including James Merritt, Ed Young, Lance Wallnau, Ray Comfort, Ashley and Carly Terredas, Troy Brewer, and over a dozen more, we're looking at 30 departures. 30. And sitting right in the middle of this exodus? Joseph Prince, the second biggest revenue generator, the international powerhouse, the pastor of one of Asia's largest churches. Gone without a word. Here's what's fascinating. Some ministers like Joyce Meyer and Baruch Corman were willing to put their reputations on the line and speak truth. They named the problem. They cited biblical standards. They made it clear why they couldn't stay. Others like Cedric Pezenia, Carrie Shook, and Derek Greer, they just quietly removed Daystar from their broadcast listings. No drama, no press releases, just exit. But Joseph Prince? His silence is deafening precisely because of his stature. When you're bringing in that kind of revenue, when you have that kind of global platform, your departure doesn't go unnoticed. So here's what we need to ask. Is his silence strategic? Is it pastoral wisdom, letting his actions speak louder than words? Or does it say everything that needs to be said? Because when 30 programmers walk away from a network, you don't need a statement. The pattern speaks for itself. Let's be honest about what's happening here. 30 programmers. 30. These aren't fringe ministries or obscure Sunday morning fillers. We're talking about pastors with mega churches, international ministries, and decades of experience in broadcasting. People like Ralph Douglas West, founding pastor of the Church Without Walls, a 25,000-plus member congregation. Carrie Shook of Woodlands Church, one of the largest churches in Texas. Derek Greer, known for his live big message, reaches hundreds of thousands. Barry Siegel, whose roots and reflections focused on Jewish Christian understanding. These are seasoned leaders who understand what's at stake when you walk away from a platform that reaches millions. They know the financial implications. They know the audience they'll lose. They know the questions people will ask, and they left anyway. But here's what makes Joseph Prince's exit so significant. He's the one everyone's watching. When Joyce Meyer left, that made headlines. When Jack Graham didn't renew, people noticed. But Joseph Prince? His departure represents something bigger. He's international. He's in over 200 countries. His ministry doesn't depend on American television the way some others do, which means his decision to remove Daystar from his broadcast listings wasn't about survival, it was about principle. Think about the calculation he had to make. Daystar gave him access to millions of American households. That's not nothing. But at what cost? At what point does maintaining a platform compromise your integrity? For 30 programmers, that line has been crossed. Here's what concerns me most. The ones who are still staying. Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, Paula White-Cain, T.D. Jakes, Robert Jeffress, all still broadcasting on Daystar as if nothing has happened, which raises uncomfortable questions. Are they unaware of 30 colleagues leaving? Do they not see the pattern? Or is there something else at play, something about contracts, commitments, or calculations that we don't see? This isn't just about Daystar anymore. This is about a pattern we keep seeing in Christian leadership. When crisis hits, when allegations surface, when hard questions need answers, we get silence, spin, and business as usual. The Bible calls us to expose the works of darkness, not to maintain relationships at the expense of truth. Yet time and time again, we choose comfort over confrontation. What's remarkable about this situation is that 30 ministers, 30, have made a different choice. Some spoke boldly, some left quietly, but they all took a stand. And Joseph Prince's silent exit might actually be one of the most powerful responses. He didn't make it about himself. He didn't virtue signal or turn it into a publicity moment. He just left. And sometimes walking away speaks louder than any press release ever could. So where does this leave us? Daystar is hemorrhaging credibility and revenue. 30 programmers, including their second largest financial contributor, have walked away. The allegations from Jonathan and Susie Lamb remain unresolved. Joni Lamb has reportedly been facing health issues, according to inside sources, though the family hasn't confirmed anything publicly. And the exodus continues. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Our faith deserves better than silence and spin. The victims in these stories deserve justice, not cover-ups. And when leaders refuse to be transparent, we have every right, actually, we have a responsibility, to ask hard questions. Joseph Prince's departure should matter to you, even if you've never watched his program, because it's part of a larger story about integrity, accountability, and whether Christian media can survive in an age where truth eventually comes to light. 30 ministers couldn't stay. That number should shock us out of complacency. These weren't rash decisions. These were calculated, prayerful choices by leaders who saw something that made it impossible to continue business as usual. I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Joseph Prince did the right thing by leaving quietly? Should more of these ministers have spoken publicly like Joyce Meyer and Baruch Corman did? And what would it take for you to trust Daystar again? Or is that trust permanently broken? Drop your thoughts below. And if you know someone who still watches Daystar and has no idea this is happening, share this video with them. They deserve to know the truth. Remember, subscribe for more investigations into stories the Christian media won't cover. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the untold stories shaping modern Christianity. 30 exits and counting. The truth will always come to light. The only question is, will we have the courage to face it? See you in the next one.